Hello everybody, it's me, Nikki, and today I'm here with a readathon. One I have made up, I think. I did look for this, I could not find it, and it is the Final Fantasy-a-thon. Because I love Final Fantasy. Now, there are 15 different Final Fantasies. However, I'm not using 11 or 14, which are the MMOs. So I'm doing 1 through 13. No, 1 through 12, 13, and 15. I'm also not doing any spin-offs. So no 13.2, no 10.2. Although, do I have 10.2? I don't think I have 10.2. Yeah, I don't have 10.2, all of those. So, I've set it up to be in December and January because it might be long. And I thought I would just post it early in November so people, aka me, can start getting this ready. So, I made a little card for it, but I don't think I could fit all the prompts on there. So I might just copy paste everything that I have on my little document here, or just link to the document. I'm not sure yet. So let me tell you about it. First, you pick one main character. Then you pick your party, max of 3. Then you pick 4 jobs or classes, 1 for your main character and 1 for each of your party members. You pick 4 summons, again 4, 1 for everybody, and 1 antagonist. So you could have, say, Furion, Sid, Zell, and Bosch, with Dancer, Ranger, Warrior, and Monk. Carbuncle, Garuda, Yojimbo, Shiva against Kefka. So yeah, and I have 2 Sids on here. There's Sid Paulandina and Sid Highwind, because they are the only 2 playable Sids. So yeah, let's go through it. So your main characters. Furion is to read a book about rebellion. And I tried to make these as vague, like some of them are as vague as possible. So you could read, I don't even know if I have a book about rebellion. You could read about Star Wars, because that has rebellion in it. Like, that's how vague I want it to be. So you can use any book you want. So Furion is to read a book about rebellion. Lunith is to read a book about courage. So the main character has courage or doesn't have courage and then gains courage, that type of stuff. Cecil is to read a book where the main character switches sides. Cecil himself went from bad to good, so they could go bad to good or good to bad. Bart is to read a book about exploration. Tara, this is about probably one of the more specific ones, is to read a book where the main character has amnesia. Cloud, read a book about a soldier. Squall, read a book about a school. Zidane, read a book where the main character has a secret past. Titus, read a book where the main character goes to another world. Vaughn, read a book about where the main... No, read a book where the main character wants to be a pirate. Lightning, read a book about sisters. And Noctis, read a book about royalty. Probably the biggest one is the party members, because there's so many characters in Final Fantasy. Okay, so you get 3 party members. Maria, read a book about looking for a sibling. Guy, read a book about talking to animals. Leon, read a book about a turn to the dark side. Ark, read a book about best friends. Refia, read a book about a character who runs away. Ingus, read a book about a knight. Kane, read a book about a love triangle. Rita, read a book where a character grows up. Tella, read a book about revenge. Edward, read a book about someone who becomes courageous. Rosa, read a romance. Any kind of romance. It doesn't have to be like this one I read has some romance in it. That counts. Yang, read a book with fighting. Palom and Porum, read a book about twins. Sid, Paul, and Dina, read a steampunk book. Edge, read a book about a prince. And you can double these up. So if you have Noctis, you can pick Edge, because the prince and royalty are the same thing. Where was I? Edge. Fusoya, read a book about gods. Lena, read a book about a princess. Galuf, read a book where a side character has amnesia. Ferris, read a book about pirates. Kryle, read a middle grade book. Locke, read a book about treasure hunting. Edgar, read a book about a rebel king. Read a book... I just skipped it. Poor Sabin. Sabin, read a book about an errant prince. Cyan, read a book about survivor's guilt. Gao, read a book about surviving in the wilderness. Celis, read a book with battles. Setzer, read a book with gambling. Strago, read a book with grandparents. Realm, read a book about painting. Some of these I really had to that's why they're so vague, because I'm like, oh geez, how do you fit that into the character? Barrett, read a book with loving parents. Tifa, read a book with a badass female fighter. Aerith, read a book where the main character learns about their heritage. Red 13, I always forget what his name is, or how to read Roman numerals. You would think after playing Final Fantasy I would know Roman numerals, but no. Red 13, read a book with a talking animal. Kate, Sith, read a book with robotic animals. Sid Highwind, read a book about space. Oh no, I lost it. Why? Renoa, read a book with an animal sidekick. Zell, read a book about a passionate person. Selfie, read a book about going to a new place. Quistis, read a book about a teacher. Irvine, read a book with a gunslinger. Doesn't have to be a western, because there are fantasy gunslingers. Vivi, read a book where a character is pure of heart. Adalbert, read a book where a character is loyal. Garnet, read a book where a princess becomes a queen. Freya, read a book about lost love. Queena, is that how you say her name? I was never sure. Read a book with cooking or about food. Aiko, read a middle grade book with animals. Amaranth, read a book about a bandit. Yuna, read a book where someone wants to save the world. Oren, read a book where a character has a mysterious past. Kamari, read a book with a bodyguard character. You don't have to have a bodyguard to read a book. Lulu, read a book where a character is guarded with their emotions. Waka, read a book where a character has retired. Riku, read a book where a character is a minority. We're almost done. Pinello, read a book where a character is or was a dancer. Balthier, read a book with a leading man. Fran, read a book with mostly women. Bosch, read a book with a disgraced warrior. Ash, read a book about a rebel queen. Snow, read a book where a character is the leader of a gang or a group. Vanille, read a book that has 2 POVs. So like character A has chapter 1, character B is chapter 2, and character A again. That type of thing. Hope, read a book with a naive character. Zaz, read a book about fathers and sons. Fang, read a book about badass women. Ignis, read a book with cooking. I know I did that twice, but that's just the way that it goes. Gladiolus, read a book with lifelong friends. And Prompto, read a book with a commoner rising the ranks. I know, I was not happy that I did that twice, but that's really like all I could find for Kuina. So, and now you pick your job and or class. These are covers. So for warrior, put a book with an axe on the cover. Thief is a dagger on the cover. Black mage has black on the cover. White mage has white. Red mage has red. Blue mage has blue. Monk has a staff on the cover. Bard has a harp. I will also take a bow for Bard. Ninja has smoke or like gray on the cover. Samurai has a sword. Summoner, I had a hard time with this one. A book with wisps on the cover, or like little sparkly light type of things. A dragoon is a book with a dragon on the cover. Astrologian has a book with stars on the cover. Ranger has a book with an animal on it. Paladin has a book with a shield on it, and Dancer has a book with shoes on the cover. Okay, now you pick your summons. Okay, Shiva, read a book set in snow. Ifrit is to read a book set in the heat, obviously. Titan is to read a book with mountains on the cover. Odin is to read a book with a horse and rider on the cover. Leviathan, read a book with water. Bahamut, read a book about dragons. Ramu, read a book with lightning on the cover. Carbuncle, read a book with a gem on the cover, or a gem color, so blue, green, red, purple, that type of stuff. Phoenix, read a book about rebirth. Alexander, read a book set in a city. Diablos, read a book with demons. Doom Train, read a book with a train. Gilgamesh, read a book with a man and a dog, or a woman. We'll change that to a person and a dog. Yojimbo, read a book about samurai. And Garuda, read a book with birds on the cover, or they're part of it. And finally, your antagonists. Chaos, read a book about or with mythology. We'll say about mythology. Emperor Matthias, read a book about an evil empire. Zend, read a book with an evil wizard. Cloud of Darkness, read a book about an apocalypse. Golbez, read a book with a manipulated character. Zemus, read a book with an evil god. Zeromus, read a sequel. Exdeath, read a book with a sociopath. Kefka, read a book where a minion schemes to be the bigger evil. So it's like he's second in command, but he really wants to be first in command. Sephiroth, read a book where a hero goes bad. Ultimacia, read a book about a witch or a wizard controlling time. Garland, read a book about an old evil. It's either coming back, that type of stuff. Kuja, read a book with a conqueror. Necron, read a book about death. Seymour, read a book where the main villain stalks the party. Sin, read a book where the main thing is mindless. Yu Yevon, read a book where the villain is just there in the background and you're like, why are you here? Vane, read a book about royal families killing each other. Venat, read a book where the main villain is being backed by something more powerful. The Undying, read a book where the main villain comes back from the dead. Orphan, read a book where the villain wants to go home wherever they came from. And Arden, read a book where the villain is unpredictable. And that is everything. I know it's a lot, 16 minutes of me talking about this, and if you don't know Final Fantasy, you're like, what are these names? But I'm really excited about this, and like I said, it's from December 1st to January 31st, because one, Final Fantasies are like long games, and you need forever to play them, and also, like, this is a lot, but maybe you finish quickly and you can do it again with different party members or different main characters or different villains. What I wanted it to be like that RPG feeling where it, like, you can replay Final Fantasy and maybe the story beats are the same, but what you're doing is different. So yeah, I'll see how much this is in the description below, like if it takes up too much room. Or, so if it's too much, I will just make a link to the document. So, yes. And, I hope you enjoy this readathon. I hope you join in. And, yeah, thanks so much for watching. I hope you're having a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!